right. Good morning, everyone. I think I'm getting technology figured out. We are trying a new streaming platform here that is new to me. So if anybody's out there right now, give me a wave, a hello, a thumbs up, something to let me know that you are listening. And we will get rolling here in just a moment. All right. Okay, so good morning. I am Dr. Sarah Morrissey. I am a pharmacist here at Moses Lake Professional Pharmacy. I'm also an integrative health practitioner, so a health strategy coach. I am very much like Shawn and Janet Needham here, that I'm a pharmacist that really doesn't believe in chronic medications for chronic illnesses because we can do better for ourselves. So that's just kind of a preface to start out. And I just want to welcome everybody to the show today. So give me a wave, give me a yes, a hello, good morning, something. And that way I can check out to make sure these comments are working in the system. So I apologize for taking the extra time this morning because the last 2 weeks, Facebook has not worked for me. So I'm trying to make sure that that does work today. And I think we're doing all right. So first off, how is everybody doing? Second off, what are some of the goals that you set for yourself for this year, and how are we coming along with those? I'll start with me. One of my goals is to do more strength training and get into better shape and, kind of intensify my workouts that I already do. And one of those things has been for me is going to the gym. Let me tell you, gym anxiety is a real thing. I guess I never realized that I had gym anxiety. But then again, I never really went there. I did all my walking. I did body weight work. I've done all those things, and usually on my own. So for those of you out there like me that have some gym anxiety, shoot me some information, some comments. How do you overcome that? So what I did last week, I actually went to the gym 3 times. So that was good. I kind of hit my goal. I was going to go another time, but I just decided to stay at home, put on my weighted vest, and do a little more intense workout at home. So doing a little bit of anything is better than nothing. But I went to one gym and utilized their trainer that they had. So that was really good to get me comfortable on some of the machines around there, because I haven't really used those machines since, college. And let's not go with how long ago that was. So and then the other thing was just going in there and doing something different than what I would do at home. And as far as I'm concerned, as long as we get to starting and do something that changes up what we've normally done, I think that's a huge win. And all that means is that we get to build on that. And so for those of you out there that have gym anxiety, go ahead and raise your hand. Give me a yes. Or if you've gotten over gym anxiety, feel free to share your tips and pointers and all of those things. So I definitely encourage that. Thankfully, I also have a lot of good friends that are very comfortable in a gym, and I just keep asking them for tips. So anybody out there doing that, good on you. Do it, right? You're not the only one with that. So looks like we've already got a question here on. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Julie. Good to see you guys. How can I get off of lorazepam? Lorazepam is a benzodiazepine. It is commonly prescribed for anxiety. And so the first things first, you do need to discuss it with your provider, because if you've been taking it long term, if you've, have developed the major reliance on it, we do need to talk about weaning off of things like that. Now, what are the main pillars of healthy living? Sleep, diet, exercise, right? So improving those habits, how you can make small shifts in your daily life to change that, right? Figure out why you really need lorazepam, right? There is a lot of information out there, or there's a lot of exercises that you can do to get to the root reason, the whys, right? I like to use an exercise. It's called the 7 whys. And it's literally just, why do I feel like I need this? Okay. Why do I feel this way? Why? And you just kind of keep digging down to the root of it. And, you can certainly learn, a lot about yourself and a lot about what's going on anyway. I don't need it anymore because I've completely changed my lifestyle, my diet. I don't drink. I was prescribed it when I was going through a divorce. Yes, right. So Julie, that is so true of so many people. As when I was working in retail pharmacy out there, and people would come to me with these new prescriptions, something traumatic, grief, divorce, death, any major life changes, the doctor just say, well, here you go. Here's a benzo, it'll calm you down. Okay, well, it calms you down, but all it does is just give you the brain fog, and so that you just don't feel your feelings, right? And so I guess I really encourage people, feel the feelings, get through it, and then, then you can actually get over that horrible situation or whatever it is a lot quicker, as opposed to dragging it out, muting your feelings, muting how what your body was telling you. And then in times of grief and, and tragedy and, upset, as hard as it is to do, the better we treat our bodies during that time, the better we feed our bodies, the better we feed our brains, the better rest we'll get, right? And then the healing just kind of happens. The other thing is, find somebody to, talk to about it, somebody, a safe space where you feel like it's okay if you need to cry, scream, or, kick rocks, whatever that takes, that is part of it. And so if, as a human, if you can feel the feels, it just gets you stronger and stronger in your day-to-day life. And so I'm super proud of you, Julie. Way to go to get over that. And I guess back to what I was saying, I always tell people when they're getting on these medications for the first time, I'm always like, this is not the answer. This might help you cope and, kind of look maybe numb to the world, right? But it's not actually helping you improve. And so it's a nice Band-Aid approach. Try not to use it. Know that it will not solve the problem, but it might help you cope through a situation, right? And so, and there is a time and a place for those things. And so I'm really glad for that question, because those were times when I was working in the retail world where I really felt like what I said mattered, helping people through. And I can get teary-eyed about it, like right now, right? Like I'm feeling the feels, because that was a time when I could help somebody. And it really felt good to help somebody cope through a difficult time and help them, guide them in some way, or at least just give them a nugget of saying, hey, you have this, but there's more work to be done, and you're allowed to do that work. And so I certainly give everybody permissions to feel the feels, and I constantly learn how to feel the feels myself. So it's good. And so, yeah, so Julie, I certainly appreciate the interaction. Great question. And so many people have gone through exactly what you've gone through. And yeah, and so keep the questions coming. That was fantastic. So we just quick recap, how do people get off of benzodiazepines? Best way. And also the question that a lot of people ask me, how do I get, what's the most important information I need to know about this medication that is now new to me? Well, the most important information is learning how to get off of it, right? And I think as a pharmacist, we are in that position to help people learn why they're on the medication. And, and that takes a lot of digging maybe for sometimes, but the best information we can give our patients, clients, is how to get off the medication, how to do better for ourselves. And so, and benzodiazepines, they are very addictive. People rely on them, right? Well, I can't sleep without it. I can't do this without it. You can, I promise you, the body is designed, to function without those. And so why does the doctor not inform you? Because the doctor has been taught how to prescribe for symptoms, right? That they are doing their job. That is what they were taught. That is what the textbook tells them. You have somebody come to you with this symptom, and that symptom. Okay, down this whole way you go. And so as much as we want to point fingers at doctors, and yes, they can all do better. We can all do better, right? And it's just the way we were taught. And that's the norm of society, right? And how many people do we know that are on medications? Like, think about that. You talk to, the next 4 people that you come encounter with and say, do you take any prescription medications? I think you'll either not be surprised or very surprised at how many people say, yes, I'm on something, right? And so that was job security as a retail pharmacy. That's job security for doctors so that people keep coming back. And so, but at the end of the day, we need to be taught how to get to the root cause, right? Why are we not sleeping well? Why are we not moving our bodies? Why is it that everything that we consume wreaking havoc on our body, right? And so that is the knowledge of that is going to be the most powerful thing for all of us, right? Natural alternatives that I don't like going to the doctor. Right, exactly. There are natural alternatives, but remember, natural alternatives are still, like if you're using that as a crutch, right? We can't supplement our way out of a bad lifestyle. And so supplements are great. They're like icing on the cake. They're the pretty pictures on the wall. But if our foundation is crumbling, the pretty pictures on the wall aren't really doing much. And so hopefully I didn't speed through that analogy, but if you have questions on that, I can go into that as well. But I have a client for my cleaning business that had 18 medications. Yes, he was putting in his pill box. I had no idea why he was taking them. Correct, right? It's polypharmacy. That's the term, right? And so as a pharmacist, quite often, and I'm going back to like my rotations, but even when I was in retail, right? Polypharmacy is huge. And that comes from people not wanting to change their lifestyle, right? And so what choice does the doctor have when they are bombarded with these people that say, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this, fix me? Okay. So there's a lot of caveats to that. Quite often the doctors are like, well, you have this, okay, so I'll give you that. Okay, well, now you have this, so I'm going to have to give you this. And then we just keep adding and adding and adding. And so that is so detrimental to the body, right? When really we need to be asking, how is your diet? How is your sleep? How is your day-to-day life? What does a typical day look like for you? How can we make improvements in your day-to-day so that you don't have these symptoms that you're coming to the doctor with? And so that's where it all starts. But that means people have to take accountability for themselves. And so, right, that's why we're here doing what we're doing, right? We are educating you. We are empowering you to take control of your own life and your own health so that you don't need to have these symptoms and things like that, right? North America, because I am including Canada in this because their system is no better or maybe even worse than the American system. We're the sickest population in the world, but yet we spend the most money on healthcare. Okay, now let's think about that, right? Like, digest that a little bit. And we can do so much better for ourselves if we just start taking care of ourselves, right? Start with you, the N of 1, right? If you start feeling better, you start being an example to the next person, that person starts making shifts. And it's a positive domino effect as opposed to the other way around. Thanks, Julie. Thanks for being on here. Great to have the interaction. Yes, loving this. So, any other questions out there? Did I get to the did I answer that question for everybody out there? If you've been listening, trying to get off medications, how to not get on medications, gym anxiety. Those are kind of the three things right off the bat that we've been discussing. Did some listening today. One of the most prescribed medications out there are the statins. How many people out there have taken one, know somebody who's been on one, told they had to take one, felt like this was going to solve all of their problems and prevent everything. Turns out it's not true. They're really horrible. I've never been on the statin bandwagon. And I've always struggled with it. And that goes back to a time when I was actually in pharmacy school. I was on rotations, and one of the gals I was on rotations with actually worked in a lab that was testing one of, the major statins out there. And she said it was so horrible, right? These people were walking around like zombies, didn't know their own name, didn't know where they, just walking room to room. Like it was just kind of really horrible and weird. And I'm thinking, wow, why are we giving this to people, right? If we think about basic biology and chemistry, right? Every cell in our body is made of a phospholipid bilayer. I encourage everybody to look at the phospholipid bilayer of a cell. And the structural component that keeps everything intact is cholesterol, right? We need cholesterol to be strong in our body, right? We don't need a huge abundance of it. We also don't need very little of it, right? So the lower the cholesterol is not good because we need cholesterol for every single cell in our body. So remember that. And the marketing, the big pharma, all of that has done an amazing job, absolutely amazing job of taking over the system, in that they feel that statins need to be for stroke prevention, heart attack prevention, all of these things. Well, 50% of your cardiovascular events are in people that have high cholesterol. So that means the other 50% are not high cholesterol. So obviously there's more root causes to things than just cholesterol. And so I just highly encourage everybody to do their research when their doctor says, oh, you need cholesterol. Or if you have a loved one that's in the hospital after a stroke and they just start giving them 80 milligram statins. And I'm like, whoa, back the truck up. Where was the patient's cholesterol panel? Oh, well, it was good. I'm like, okay, well, just because it's on protocol, I don't think we need to decrease the muscle strength and cellular function and the sheaths that cover our neurons that make our bodies fire and our brains function. I don't think we need to decrease that in somebody who is coming off of a stroke, where we need oxygen to get places and we need those neurons to fire at their highest capacity. So it's a big deal, and so many people are on them, and I highly encourage you looking into the reason why you're on it. If you feel like you need to be on it, or take a look at how you are actually feeling and how you have felt since you started taking it. You're not going to feel these side effects necessarily right away, right? This is a long progression of dwindling your body's own capabilities, right? Like it just slowly takes it away. A lot of people have the rhabdomyolysis or the myopathies. Sometimes they happen quite quickly because your muscles react and they're like, whoa, no, we need help. We need our cholesterol in our cells to function. And so that's a big thing. And so just to be aware, be educated. If you have questions on them or unsure, well, you can talk to your provider, but they're going to tell you exactly what the big pharma has told them and educated them on their statins and how they are so amazing. And I highly discourage them. And some of those reasons being, kind of what I already stated, right? They have proven to break down our own muscles, right? So the myopathy is one of the terms there. It decreases the energy that our mitochondria produce. And so that's a big thing, right? Because we need energy, right? If we need to go faster, do something, we need that energy. We need our mitochondria to do their job. And without cholesterol, because it blocks an enzyme in the energy production of our body, we're not able to do that. So that's a big one there. Now, when we look at a lot of the people that are on statins, right? So there's the whole metabolic syndrome, right? We've got high blood pressure, we've got insulin resistance, we're probably overweight, we have exercise intolerance, things like that. Statins increase the insulin resistance in our body, right? So our fasting glucose goes up. So that just helps contribute more and more to the metabolic diseases in our body, right? And so we need to get that under control. We can do that through sleep. We can do that through diet. We can do that through exercise, right? And so all of those things can be prevented, and we can get off of medications if we start tending to our bodies the way we're kind of meant to do that. So keep an eye on those things. Especially if you're on those medications, try to wean off or get off of them as soon as possible. So the brain health, right? And I said it earlier, I just kind of glazed over it, but yeah, the brain health with statins, right? They deteriorate what is called the myelin sheath that covers the nerves in our bodies, right? And so essential for the neurotransmitters to get across, right? So, next thing you know, you're depressed because you're on a statin because your neurotransmitters aren't firing like they should be. Your muscles or the cells in your brain are actually kind of deteriorating because they don't have the integrity and the structure that they need. And so just big reminder, right? The more we can get off of the medications that are covering up symptoms, the better off we can be. If you notice, and it gets even worse in the elderly that are on statins, right? The memory loss, cognitive function impaired, just brain fog, depression, things like that. That's going back to one of Julie's questions about, the more medications that people get on. Okay, well, they've been on a statin and they've been on metformin and they've been on a high blood pressure medication. Now we've got depression. Weird, right? Because our insulin receptors are kind of shot. Our brain and our neurons aren't firing like they need to be. And so it's not surprising that we are going through these difficult things and the polypharmacy, multiple medications, treating multiple symptoms, and treating side effects from other medications. So huge topic. We could talk for days and days and days and days on it. But guess what? That's what we're here to do. So maybe if anybody wants to kind of give a shout out if they know anybody that's gone through this, it's sad, but it's real. And I think the more people like myself, Shawn, Janet, and any other pharmacist, any other healthcare provider out there that gets out here and starts talking to our people, and it will be, that this is how we start making the changes in the world. And I'm excited about that. So getting to the root cause, why do we have the inflammation in our body? What can we do to decrease that? If we want to talk about a foundational supplement, I've talked about it before, your omega-3s, right? We need to balance out the inflammatory ratio in our body because it is shown, right? The better our omega-3 profile is, the significant decrease in cardiovascular events happen. And so make sure you're getting on a good quality omega-3, right? Ortho Omega is a good one, which is by Orthomolecular, Equilife brand. I am going to share those two brands because I do strongly believe in them. The EcoLife brand is the proportions of the components in it are lovely. And so I just think it's one of the best products out there. That's the one that I've taken if you're not eating a can of sardines a day. So sardines, wild caught salmon, the fatty, smaller fish, that is where you're going to find a lot of those omega-3s. And so if I don't eat a can of sardines a day, I'm taking my omega-3s. And so just doing whatever I can to decrease that inflammation. Now, I can honestly say I was curious about that. It took me a while to consume a can of sardines, but when I did, turns out it was a lot of to do about nothing. And so I regularly eat them with in my salads, with avocado, just kind of anything. I made a bean salad and you just kind of mix it in there and it's delicious, right? But what was impressive for me was I had done an inflammation test on myself, looking at my omega-3s, omega-6s, the ratios of arachidonic acid to EPA, things like that. And my ratios were way out there, like 18-1 and 9-1, I think were my ratios. And an ideal ratio for those is a 3-1 ratio. Okay, so I started eating 1 can of sardines a day. And after 4 months, I retested and both of my ratios were at 3-1. And so the proof was in the sardines on that one. So I've just been a big fan of them. And I guess I'd rather eat my nutrients than have to take a supplement, right? So it goes back to, if we're eating the right foods, you don't need to supplement as much, right? So vitamin D is still huge, and especially up here in the Northern Hemisphere, and especially in the winter time. So I highly recommend people, get your vitamin D tested to see kind of where you're at. And then, you're most likely going to have to supplement with that. And so, as always, this has been a ton of fun. I love the interaction. I sure appreciate everybody coming on here. Once again, I'm Dr. Sarah Morrissey. I am a pharmacist that believes in educating and empowering everybody to take control of their health. I'm an integrative health practitioner with Winning Wellness, and I just love helping people. So I hope that this has helped you today. I hope that you can share this information with somebody you care about. And I just hope everybody has an awesome rest of the week. Happy Tuesday. I will be back again next Tuesday, 9 a.m. And I believe that this platform went well. So feel free to send any feedback. If you have any questions during the week that you didn't think to ask today, or if you think of anything during the week, shoot me a message, send it to Shawn, send it to wherever I will get the messages. And I look forward to seeing everybody next week. So take care.